Okay, welcome to the type lecture. Okay, put that right there. We are going to be working with type today. Command plus, zoom in there, file, save as. We're going to call this text, exercises, and I'm not going to save it in my templates. I'm going to save it to my desktop by going to user, desktop. Perfect, hit save. Now, if you're working with Creative Cloud at home, you are going to want to save in the Illustrator CS6 version in order to use it here. Okay? All right, so first kind of type is if you click and just want to type title type. Okay. This is called point type, where you just have a title. Let's put a title in here. This lecture is awesome. Now, that's kind of tough to read. If I want to change the type, all I have to do is select it, go over to the character panel. You get a preview of all the type here. So you can go to Pray for Whiskey. Yeah, Pants Patrol is really hard to beat. Naked Monk, or let's see, any other fabulous Spider in the Rough, Space Cadet. There, whoa. Space Cadet seems to have a lot of, takes up a lot of space. So let's maybe just go to something like Skia. There we go. So now we just have point type. It's great for titles. But if you have a lot of information that you're going to bring in, and you select the type tool and just click and then paste, say from Word, it's going to come in and just keep coming and coming. Which you'd have to, right, if you bring it in like that, all of it's squunched. So you can't just resize the window. You would have to select some spaces in here by double clicking between the words to activate the type tool and hit return every time to format it. Do we want to do that? No, there's got to be an easier way, and there is. Paragraph type. Grab the type tool and draw a box that you want the type to live in. And there you go. And we're going to go through all sorts of different types of places to put text. Now, we have this little red plus down in the corner. What does that mean? What do you think it means?
There's more type.
There's more type. So if you hover over that and you click, it loads the cursor with the additional information. And this is called threaded text. By clicking on that red plus, it threads this text to this text. It just kind of goes through. This is great if you're doing something where you have a lot of text and you don't want to format and cut and paste and cut and paste. You can very simply go from one text box to another. I'm going to undo that. Another thing you could do is simply change the size of the box. You could also double click in there, Command A to select all of that, and change the font size. You're not stuck to these sizes. You can use the little up and down arrows to change it one point at a time. You can also type in a number, 29, say, and then it's all there. So this would be called paragraph type. Select that, make that much larger. Now up in the character panel, or down here in the character panel, you can see that we have our font family, the font style. In this case, there is only regular. If we pick something like Times New Roman, something like Times New Roman, It has regular, italic, bold, and bold italic. So if you want to create emphasis, draw someone's eye to a certain part, you can do that simply by changing the font family. So let's go over here, hit regular. You can change the font here. And then we've got a couple other things. So let's walk through these. I'm going to Command plus in. I'm going to select these 3 lines. What this is the leading, and it's the space between lines of type. You can change it to be something less than. This might work if you were trying to make something that was unreadable, right? More as a design. You could do that. Or you can increase it and give it more of a double-spaced look, which is much easier to read. And that is called the leading. Right. The next thing we've got is the kerning between 2 letters. Let's zoom in. So sometimes the space between 2 letters doesn't look right? It can happen a lot with W's and P's. So let's do AVP. So this may look like there's too much space, but this looks perfect. What you can do is select these 2 letters, go over to the kerning, and change it to optical, and it moves it in a little bit. I think we had it on auto. So there's metric, optical, and then you can always, I'd have to use the tracking options. Okay. So if you want to change that to optical, doesn't make any difference, but you can understand why it made the difference between the A and the V. Let's hit Command R to get the rulers and bring over, that's the end of the A and the beginning of the V. So there's actually even a little more room than between these 2. But because of that diagonal, that's when tracking would come into play. I'm sorry, kerning. This is tracking over here. You can also change the space between a bunch of letters at a time, not just 2, by using the tracking. You can make it smaller or larger. So kerning is between 2 characters. Tracking is between any selected characters. So if you want to select 2 lines of type, make it plus 200, that will work. The way I think about it is with your hand. So look up here, even though this will not be on the video because you can't see it. I think of it like this. This is leading, space between lines. Kerning, like the Spock symbol, space between 2 characters. And tracking, which is the space between all the characters. So I've just basically summarized an entire typography course for you. You're welcome. Okay, let's keep going. So we've got paragraph type and point type. Let's move, actually we'll leave it there and keep going on to our next artboard. So we have got all of these other options. I'm going to do this pull out here. We have the area type tool. So I'm going to select the polygon and draw a giant polygon. But I want the type to fit inside of the area here. Grab the area type tool. You see how the cursor, click there. And it conforms to the shape. You can also just hit paste in some case. So that's kind of cool. The next thing we can do, really nothing? That's the worst. All right, you're gonna lose it when you see this one. Type on a path. This is the business. So if I draw a path and it's lovely, oh, a lovely little path. I need to get rid of that. Just have a stroke. Hit T for the type tool, select the type on a path. Click on the path to select, and you'll see a little blinking cursor. that means you can type along this path. Woo-hoo! Now, this is about to get crazy. Absolutely crazy. You guys good with this? Watch this. And I'm glad we're doing video because there's no way to explain this without looking at it. I'm going to double click over here and I'm going to take a couple of zeros out. All right. This little bar here, see what happens when I mouse over it? And there's a little arrow pointing to the right, yeah? You can select that and push the type to the right. Now, there's a little one right here that is pointing to the left. By doing that, I can, and not pushing it to the left, but I am truncating it. Right? So I'm changing how much of the path I want to have type on. But this is the real business, okay? This is the one that is just super cool. This guy. You see how it points up? If I grab this line, I can flip it along the bottom. Hoot, hoot, hoot. I can still move it, and then I can also move it along. That's pretty impressive. I remember when I learned that, I'm like, what? That's awesome. And that is just this guy type on a path. You can also do vertical tool, which you will never use. I've never seen it used well because no one reads huge blocks of text like this. At least not in English. Right? So this is pretty hard to read, yeah? If there was a huge block of text, would you just give up? I would just give up. Even if there were like winning lottery tickets numbers in there, couldn't do it. I'm not even sure what I wrote. Okay. So this is something I honestly don't know if you're not doing the matrix, what you would possibly use this for, okay? But if you've got an interesting way to use it, I invite you to do so. Come over here, woohoo. So then we've got vertical area type tool. Let's grab a star. What do you think this one's going to do? Yep. Which you can see is really easy to read. Maybe if you're doing a word search and your word is will, I don't know, or on, or ning. I got nothing other than that. Or just wiener. All right, just wiener, there we go. So again, you could use this for design reasons. I'm absolutely positive that all of you totally creative people could make vertical type look all right. Vertical type on a path tool. There's a lot of vertical tools. So obviously there's something to it. It's just not for me. I'm gonna grab the pen tool, make a beautiful little swirl, get rid of the fill, grab the vertical type tool, click to, you see the flashing cursor, that means it's ready for type, paste, and it's the 18th running of the Wiener Schnitzel Wiener, like that actually could be kind of cool. You might have to go in and like add extra spaces to make it a little easier to read. There will be some additional formatting challenges to doing something like that, but that could be kind of fun and it would work well with some designs. If you were doing something about rain, something coming out of the sky, something, fluid, that would work much better than maybe something very solid feeling like this. So those are some of the type tools.